We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. For many, it's a playground. For others, it's where we earn our living. But the sea's unpredictable. It can change in an instant. And when accidents happen, they happen very fast.
The sea is a dangerous place. If you don't respect the sea will bite you.
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of nearly 5,000 ordinary people, ready to leave their jobs, their families, to race to our rescue.
It makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, to know that if it wasn't for you, that person wouldn't be here.
They rescued me, but they also saved a mum, a daughter, a sister, a wife.
Oh my God.
To see someone disappear under the water right in front of you is brutal. It's absolutely horrendous.
Equipped with their own cameras,
My light flashing. Yeah, it's mine.
the crews give us a unique insight into every call-out as only they see it.
Right, there's another little wave.
Speeding through the roughest weather, searching for people who may only have moments to live.
Can you still hear me?
For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
When those pagers go off, it's life and death.
In South Wales, the seaside town of Tenby is a magnet for holidaymakers, with over 300,000 visiting every year. Tenby is well known for its picturesque harbour and its sandy beaches. But beyond these inland waters lies Carmarthen Bay and the Bristol Channel, which are home to strong tides and shifting sandbanks. So on a summer weekend, the local crew are always ready for action.
There is that feeling that it's going to be busy. Bright sunshine, spring tides, you've got a fair chance that something's going to happen.
On a warm day in mid-August, all seems calm in Tenby Harbour. But out at sea, a strong southwesterly wind is picking up. A call's come in from the Coast Guard. A lone sailor on a small yacht is distressed and disorientated. The yacht is in a dangerous stretch of water, so the Coast Guard helicopter has been scrambled alongside Tenby's Tamar lifeboat.
We've been to many shops up that area. It's a notorious place. It's not very nice at all. It's, you know, it's in southwesterly gale. It's big surf going in there, you know. So you automatically think we got to get there and get there quick, you know, to resolve this.
Anything up to the east, anything towards Rossilly, Pembrey, Buryport is not the easiest of areas to get to. We wouldn't normally go up there unless it was needed and it was quite a serious situation.
Conditions on the day were quite rough, lots of breaking waves. Probably not the best conditions to be out at sea on your own in a small sailing dinghy.
Even with the lifeboat travelling at its top speed of 25 knots, it takes the crew nearly half an hour to reach the sailor's last known location. The challenge now is to find him.
He must be down here then.
The reason we didn't have the exact location is because the casualty didn't know his location at all.
On a search and rescue, the crew are usually able to track a boat's VHF radio to pinpoint exactly where it is.
I don't think in this current state you can talk on the radio.
Unfortunately, the gentleman's VHF radio battery had died, so we couldn't make direct contact with him. I believe he used a mobile phone to call for assistance, so locating the casualty was a bit of a needle in a haystack.
The only place you can be around is up here somewhere, or on one of these. Try and outfit, isn't he? Do we know what colour or anything yet? Nothing, just a name.
To be on your own at sea is a big challenge for anybody to take.
What are the chances of looking for a sunken boat bursting in the water? Keep your eyes peeled.
A radio call comes in from the Coast Guard helicopter, which has spotted the yacht.
Phil, can you see the vessel itself?
Yeah, I can see it just off my starboard shoulder.
The sailor's now perilously close to a sandbar known locally as West Hooper Bank.
When you get towards a sandbank, all of a sudden the wave height gets higher because it's coming to shallow water, so you get bigger swell. He was very, very close to get into that. Once you get into that position, you know, the boat could surf and broach, he could be thrown out of the yacht, then that becomes then a yacht being smashed up on the sandbank and also somebody in the water. You know, he was moments away from tragedy, really.
I'm going to try and drop Alid on board first, team to calm the situation down, and then we'll assess.
In increasingly shallow water, Phil makes the decision to manoeuvre the large lifeboat alongside the yacht and land one of his team, Aled, on it.
It's always good to send a crew member aboard the casualty vessel. It automatically reassures the casualty that there is somebody on board with experience.
When you've got to get onto casualty vessels, it's a case of switching on. It's a case of taking your opportunity when it comes. You'll have one opportunity to get aboard and get aboard safely.
To get the best position, Phil now switches to a secondary throttle control on the port side of the bridge.
It wasn't the most seaworthy of boat. I think it was quite old. It was rotten in patches. So I'm not the lightest of people. So you're stepping aboard with a dry suit on as well, which isn't the easiest of things to work in.
In order to get Aled aboard safely, Phil needs to steer the 31-ton lifeboat precisely alongside the small wooden yacht.
He was so distressed, the casualty, because he was on his own and he was fatigued. Once you get to that point of being so tired that you can't think straight, that is when he obviously thought then he needs help.
It's not just the yachtsman who's putting himself at risk now. Both boats are currently right on top of the sandbank in under 1.5 meters of water.
We were touching the bottom on the sand. There's always a danger that we could get grounded and stuck. You can see all the sand churning up, but there's, you know, that's what we do sometimes. We have to go into danger to get somebody out of that danger.
The lifeboat is equipped with bow thrusters, small underwater propellers, which Phil uses to manoeuvre left and right into position.
Tamar is steel, metal construction. This yacht is wooden. You're thinking to yourself, right, what if, and how am I going to get aboard there? This Tamar is 3 or 4 times the size. Your concern is falling in the water between both boats and getting injured in that respect. I suppose for a few seconds you can have those thoughts, but then you've got to put them aside and just be confident in the position that Phil's putting you in.
Nearly, no.
It's difficult. You've got to get the time right. The first time I didn't feel confident in being able to grip onto anything. Will we close enough? It's debatable. I mean, I had to make the jump or leap of faith onto the boat.
Transferring crew members from the lifeboat to casualty boat can be very dangerous. It's a known fact that boats don't handle well in shallow water. As the boats are moving in the swell like this, if this is the casualty vessel here and that's me, as we come in, you're doing this. I try to get as close as I can at the point, and then the crew member will step across at that point there. So it's literally like stepping through a door, but you step at the same level.
Don't know.
If you misjudge that and the boat goes down as you step or goes up as you step, you're in danger of hitting your ankle or your foot or your hand or your head or whatever it may be, and then cause an injury to the crew member.
With Aled safely on board the yacht, Phil navigates off the sandbank.
The gentleman responded well, yeah. He was happy that we were there. He was happy that there was someone aboard to help him. He, in essence, had just given up. His response was, well, I don't know where I am or what's gone wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. He was disorientated, confused, probably a bit of seasickness.
Aled guides the lone yachtsman out of danger and into deeper waters. And the inshore lifeboat from nearby Berry Port arrives to offer help.
Dean, if you just want to tell the Coast Guard that the plan is Buryport ILB is going to escort the gentleman in slowly through the bar, and we're going to stand off while this happens.
Had he not been found, had he not made the call when he did, he could have found himself in a different situation then. Had the boat grounded, capsized, he wouldn't have survived.
When you're on the boat and you're returning home, you just look around at the crew and they're sort of, they're happy with themselves, you know. It's a good feeling, you know, it's a real pride.
Yeah, I am proud of what I do. I am proud of the fact that I've been there now nigh on 20 years. I've helped lots of people over the years, and yeah, it's a rewarding job.
You know, they do it because they love it. They don't want the praise. You know, take it on the chin and love what they do.
Phil's lived in Tenby all his life.
Yay!
He, his wife Donna, and their 2 children have a house close to the lifeboat station.
Go!
Up until 2010, he was a volunteer crew member, but now works full-time as the coxswain of the lifeboat. Phil is a 4th-generation lifeboat man. His father died working on active service while based at the old station, which, while now a luxury home, is still a proud symbol of the town's lifeboat heritage.
He was answering a shout, and it was in this station here. So as the boat was coming out, which was the old time class, there was a hydraulic mast. So they had to put that up before launching. And it was while he was putting up the hydraulic mast that he collapsed. So the boat was pulled back into the station and he was taken away in an ambulance, and over that night then, tragically, he passed away.
A bench now sits between the old and new stations as a reminder of Johnny.
How old is it?
29 years old. Yeah. This is the actual bench that was made back in 1988, and it's been here ever since. It's in better nick than some of our 30-year-old crew members. When I was younger, I sort of used to come around and sit on it and sort of just generally have a chat, really, because you didn't really have that father figure from the age of 12, so it was quite nice just to come around and offload on the bench, even though nobody was listening, you know. Psychologically, he was. I was asked to join at 17, and I was still a bit sort of raw with it, if you like. When I was 17, I still thought, no, the lifeboat took my dad at the end of the day. And it was nigh on a year later, really, when I decided enough was enough and be a part of something that I did love and enjoy coming down when I was a child, you know? So I joined at 18. I was born in the harbour, in the sea, and that's what I want to do, and that's what I love to do. It's my passion as well as my job.
The majority of Tenby's crew have strong links to the local seafaring community. But around the British Isles, lifeboat stations and their crews come in all shapes and sizes. And over the years, crews and their lifeboats become finely tuned to the local waters and to the needs of those who use them the most. There's one place on the Norfolk coast where this is especially true. Hunstanton is a small seaside community nestled on the southeast side of the Wash. The town doesn't have a harbour or a fishing industry of its own, and in 1931 the lifeboat station here was closed down. But as tourism and water sports boomed locally, it was proposed that an inshore lifeboat be stationed here once again. And so, nearly 50 years later, the old station was reborn. These days, Hunstanton is one of only 4 stations in the UK to operate a rescue hovercraft alongside its lifeboat. But it's not just the machinery here that isn't your typical seafaring stock.
My day job is video production, so completely not a salty sea dog at all. No experience.
So I work at the hotel down the road, 2 minutes away. And I've been a volunteer down here for 2 years. Because my background's farming, I wanted to drive the tractor, but they've never let me drive the tractor yet.
Thanks to their proximity to the lifeboat station, young crewmen Andrew and Peter have had to find their sea legs quicker than they first imagined.
I think there is a particular need for people to be available during sort of daytime, normal work hours throughout the week. I guess prior to a lot of us turning, there is times when they sort of struggled to get the crew all at the right times. I don't think it's the case now. There's loads of us. Yeah. It does affect you. Like you find yourself thinking, like, where am I if my pager was to go off now? Which would I go that way? Would I go that way? It's definitely a part of my life now. Yeah.
On a cold March day, a call comes in to the lifeboat station. A female kite surfer is in trouble off the old Hunstanton beach and is in danger of being swept out by the fast-flowing local tide.
We have some massive tides where when the tide goes out, it seems to take all the water out of the wash. This particular lady, her husband had come up to the lifeboat station to say that she was in trouble and being swept out to sea.
Because of the direction of the wind and the tide, they were being sort of swept around the coastline, heading away from Hunstanton.
The lifeboat to Humber Coast Guard. You've been placed to report of a kite surfer in difficulties 100 metres off Hunstanton boathouse. You're tasked to locate an extra.
If it's a kite surfer, you're hopefully helped by the fact that they're probably hanging on to their kite. Okay. But you'll be amazed at how even a big 9 or 10 metre kite can disappear within the chop.
All you're looking for is the head. It's just like a football floating on the water. That's the size of the thing you're looking for.
If you can imagine that it's a bit windy and there's peaks and troughs in the waves, you could see somebody 1 second and then they're down, the other side of the wave and they're gone.
Over here.
After 5 minutes of searching, the crew sights something.
It's all right, she looks happy and... Grab the lady? Yeah.
The kite surfer has lost her board and has been battling the outgoing tide for nearly an hour.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, don't worry. All right.
When we arrived and actually come alongside her, she was well out of her depth. There was no way she could sort of touch the bottom or anything.
Oopsie.
Good.
I know.
It's okay. You all right?
She looked cold. I think she was quite relieved, and I also think she was perhaps a little bit embarrassed about having to be picked up. She was quite an experienced kite surfer.
I'm chilly. I couldn't turn the kite. I had no energy left to turn that kite to get in, and I'm so close.
Although the lady had all the gear on, you know, you haven't got to be in the water that long in the springtime like that for the cold to set in, and then you can't use your limbs.
Okay.
My arms are just jelly.
just exhausted from holding on.
I'm exhausted from trying to do a pack down and trying to turn the kite. I couldn't turn the kite.
Yeah.
It was a relief. I was very, very glad that they'd come, but felt very embarrassed and relieved and cold.
Yeah, the British public, we feel uncomfortable in a lot of situations, and embarrassment's definitely one of them.
The temperature is on average only 10 degrees at this time of year. But the crew's biggest concern right now isn't the possibility of hypothermia.
Because she had been in the water for a while, there's the chance of secondary drowning as well, where you basically swallow a lot of water. And at the time you're okay, but later on that could cause you problems. So yeah, it was something we needed to basically get her out as quick as possible and get her warm.
Secondary drowning is a medical phenomenon which can affect people who've been immersed in water for a long time. Even a small amount of fluid in the lungs can stop them functioning properly and lead to death hours later.
It's kind of delayed drowning. People forget how it can happen, or completely misunderstand what it is, I guess. Yeah, you're in.
The lifeboat is soon safely back at shore. As the kite surfer had been in the water for nearly an hour, 2 local ambulance crews have been called.
I didn't want to take the gloves off to put it back together because I thought my hands would get too cold.
Right, just to let you know, there's an ambulance on the way.
But I just couldn't get it back to her.
There's an ambulance on the way. They're just going to check for just any signs of hypothermia, also secondary drowning.
I'm okay.
Yeah, just rather they check you over anyway.
Yeah, I didn't. Oh God, what?
Well, just be on the safe side, that's all.
There was 2 ambulances waiting at the lifeboat station when we got back, which was even more sort of embarrassing. And I was thinking, all these people have put themselves out for me, and I just felt like, it's not good.
So if I take this one from you for a second, and might make it easier as you get down the steps. And so if you see Rigel at the end, he'll help you down. It was definitely good that we got to her when we did.
She would have become too tired to possibly even keep herself above the water. If she'd been trying to swim against the tide, she would have been swept right out.
She couldn't rescue herself, and yeah, no one else was coming.
So going home that night, I did an awful lot of soul searching of what I'd done wrong, how I could have done things differently. Should I even be kite surfing? Am I a liability to myself and everybody else? It was a huge crisis of confidence, and they got a crate of beer out of it from me. And a big donation.
Lying just inside Christchurch Harbour in Dorset, Mudeford was originally a small fishing village and a haven for smugglers. Although the waters inside the harbour are usually calm, the narrow channel outside has strong tidal currents, and the seas offshore can become rough and unpredictable when storms blow in. Mudeford's position makes it a natural place for a lifeboat station, and it received one of the UK's very first inshore lifeboats back in 1963. In those days, almost all the crew worked in the local fishing industry. One of the current crew members, Pete, is continuing that tradition.
So yeah, this is the shallow bit. This is what everyone gets caught on. See, that was the bottom. once or twice. But you can't not when you're coming in and out every day. So at that point back there, it's not even a foot deep, it's 10 inches. So if you had wellies on, you could get out of the boat there and walk ashore and you'd have dry feet. That's Mudeford.
From his 25-foot boat, Pete tends around 200 lobster pots along this stretch of coast, so knows these waters like the back of his hand.
Where we are at the moment is Christchurch Ledge. It's very shallow, very rocky, and in the winter time is very, very rough. And on a southwesterly wind is horrendous, especially if it's blowing more than a force 8. That's a nice one. Lovely jubbly. Right, so that's the first one.
Pete's now been a member of the crew here for 25 years.
I went away for a couple of years. I went to college and did all my nautical training bits and pieces. And then when I was about 19, I joined up. So it's wonderful. I love it. I've done it for so long now. It's like my second family, really.
Although local fishing industries are thriving, in the summer, fishermen like Pete are seriously outnumbered by dinghy sailors, pleasure boaters and water sport enthusiasts.
A lot of people, I don't think they understand what's going on at all. I mean, there's those that are really clued up and it's totally genuine, and you get others that they do worry you. It's frightening when you know what the sea can do and what trouble people get themselves into. Some shouts or calls could end up totally different. I'd rather bring somebody alive back home than dead.
Mudeford may seem an idyllic spot, but even in summer, the weather and the sea conditions here can change dramatically without warning.
So is it true to say that even the most experienced seamen can get caught out?
Yes, they can. And the pager can also go off as well. And on that note, I'm off.
It's mid-August and a call comes in from the Coast Guard. A yacht crew are concerned about a lone sailor far out at sea.
First information was a guy was in a sailing boat and was reported that he was sailing to America in a dinghy.
We always have a saying of we're only good as the information we get, and sometimes the information is very sparse.
The tail end of Hurricane Bertha has just passed through this stretch of the south coast. So the crew's Atlantic 85 powers out through unseasonably rough and windy conditions.
It was quite a choppy night. You could tell that the wind was picking up. The waves were between sort of 1 and 2 metres high, so quite choppy.
The inshore lifeboat has a top speed of 35 knots, and after an 18-minute sprint, the crew spot the yacht which originally alerted the Coast Guard to the lone sailor.
When we turned up on scene, we realised it was quite a small dinghy, quite far out for a dinghy that size as well.
With no cabin, the 13-foot dinghy isn't designed for long-distance sailing, let alone a transatlantic crossing, which the crew have been informed is the sailor's intention.
It was a disbelief, definitely, and it was a chuckle, and it was just sort of, really?
The sailor has reached a point 4 miles offshore.
If you get to about 7 miles off land, you can't see land very well. So 4 miles off land is a huge distance for a little sailing dinghy. When we approached, the single-handed yachtsman didn't make eye contact with us, didn't try to make any contact with us at all, which we thought was very strange.
The boat was taking on some water, and he was unaware of that, and he had very, very little knowledge of what he was doing out there.
I think anyone that's actually worked on the sea, you've got to know exactly what you're going to be doing and what the boat's capable of, and also what you're capable of.
I'm no sailor, but I know that a flappy sail isn't a good sail for sailing. And in that stage there, I decided to put a very experienced sailor on board to try and make contact, because I was worried about the state of the person. He was very, very wet. There was a lot of water in his boat, and he didn't seem to be very competent in what he was doing.
He would look at us, but he just wouldn't say anything, and then eventually he said a few words.
He had broken English. I believe he was from Bulgaria, so we couldn't communicate very well with him.
We were trying to persuade him to come off his boat and onto our boat, and so we could then tow his boat back and bring him back to safety.
The RNLI is not a law enforcement agency, and as the sailor didn't personally request their help, the crew now face an unusual dilemma.
We're not the police. We can ask people and we can advise them what to do. When you're having broken conversations with a foreign national in a very high winds and a big sea state, communication is quite difficult. We then spoke to the Coast Guard to ask for their advice. I made a decision then, so I briefed my crew to tell them to force him on our boat.
We did have to use a bit more of an authoritative manner towards him to persuade him to come onto the boat. He needed help, but I think he was just trying to go, no, I don't want any help, and I'll try and ignore you and you'll go away, but we weren't gonna leave him, so. To start off with, you feel, well, why is he not communicating to me? You know, why is he not talking? You know, what's his problem and stuff? Then you start to realise that you start to think a little bit deeper, and as a crew, you know, we sort of, hold on a minute, you know, this guy's suffering, you know, could be suffering from hypothermia, anything like that, and that has a different effect on people's communication. It was a relief once he had stepped onto the Atlantic, and once he had got on, then we could take control and get back to safety, really.
Right, we'll get you back home and get you better, okay? There's no place for you to be out here. Trust me, I spent all the work in Lifeboat. Today's not the day to be out. You all done? Yeah.
Mudeford here, where you get such a short, sharp sea and you get big swells. You can see the weather on the horizon, you can see the shape of the clouds moving across. And it tells you that you've got 15, 20 minutes to get back in. It's something that if you don't give it any respect, it'll kill you.
We did initially start towing the dinghy, but As we were on our journey back, the casualty worsened and he fainted for a brief moment.
Helmsman Nathan opts to stop towing the dinghy and leaves crew member Dom on board to sail it safely back to harbour. The priority now is to get the sailor to an ambulance on shore as quickly as possible.
During the communication on the boat, he was saying to us that his intention wasn't to go to America. He wants to go to America, but his intention was to sail to the west coast and then to catch a bigger boat from the west coast over to America.
It's over 100 nautical miles from Mudeford to the west coast of Cornwall, but for now, the man's journey will end in a waiting ambulance after just 4 miles of sailing.
To this day, I honestly think he didn't have a clue. I honestly think he didn't realise the situation he was in. I don't think he realised the severity of if he'd not been seen by that yacht. I don't think he'd be here today.
While the casualty is tended to by the paramedics, the lifeboat heads back out to sea to retrieve Dom and the dinghy.
When we looked in his boat, he had his bag with several packs of hot dogs, tins of hot dogs, a road map of Southampton, and a laptop computer, which was bizarre. I don't know how that's going to work out there.
While the crew stow the lifeboat back in its launch trailer, the casualty's belongings and his dinghy are taken to the lifeboat station for safekeeping.
He was admitted to hospital for 24 hours, and after he was discharged from hospital and had the all clear, he then came back and retrieved his equipment that we'd left. We kept in the lifeboat station so it was secure.
I heard a few weeks later that he attempted to do it again, and he was recovered from a neighbouring lifeboat station and was in the same situation again.
I do admire his determination, but I wouldn't do it myself.
Dover, with its iconic white cliffs, is the world's busiest passenger port, with over 16 million people passing through it every year. The vast majority will travel on one of the 11 ferries which shuttle back and forth across the channel up to 53 times a day. But every year, over 150 brave souls attempt to cross this stretch of sea via another more perilous route, by swimming 21 miles from Dover to France. They'll battle strong tides, busy shipping lanes and cold water, all in an effort to conquer what's known as the Everest of endurance swimming. A quarter of them won't succeed, and some will require lifeboat assistance.
For years, it's been an annual thing where people come from all over the country and the world to swim the channel, the Dover Straits. And they normally set off from sort of Shakespeare Beach and head across towards Cap Grenade and Wisson Beach. Some do it in a few hours, some do it in sort of 24 hours, and some people do it in relays. And in fact, one of my own crew members, Sam, she's swum the channel. A great achievement. Very hard, I should imagine.
I've done 2 channel swims, one in 2008 and one in 2014. I've started 4 times and I've finished 2. When I didn't complete my first one, I was only 3 miles from the French coast, and I got back onto the boat. That decision was the hardest decision of my life. I've been past that spot that I got out many, many times since. And I think I'd probably get quite emotional every time. It was soul-destroying, but in my head I just couldn't go on. I couldn't carry on. Because I was here and I knew the lifeboat was here, I had the time to be able to give to it, you know, because in the summertime I've been working on some of the pilot boats, And without the RNLI, we wouldn't be there.
On an unusually hot July morning, the Dover Lifeboat station receives a call from the local Coast Guard. A pilot boat escorting a cross-channel relay team urgently needs assistance. One of their swimmers is in distress.
It was a very, very hot day. I remember it being very, very hot. And the reports were she was suffering from dehydration and was sort of in and out of consciousness, really, with it.
The Dover station has a 7-class lifeboat, the largest in the fleet. With a range of 250 nautical miles and a top speed of 25 knots, it's built for long-distance offshore rescues. The cross-channel relay team is currently over 15 miles away from Dover.
On the way out, the heat that was hitting you was just unbelievable. The crew, we just couldn't. We wore the basic kit. A lot of us, we wore wellies and a life jacket. It was just so hot, especially out in the channel. You know, a flat, calm day, the sun reflecting off that water, it's like a mirror. You know, you get sunburnt within minutes.
You want to fill the cascade goals up? Can I have a go at it? Pardon? Can I have a go at the cascade goals?
Crew members Carl and Adam have been selected for casualty care. This advanced first aider role is a first for both of them.
We hadn't long done our cascade training at Dover, so that was all still fresh in our mind. You've got to try and get your mind focused on the job in hand, because you know that the channel swimmer needs your help, but you don't know what help they need. You don't know what state they're in.
You wonder what could be the problem, whether they've got really bad cramp or they haven't prepared properly.
They could be lying on the floor unconscious. You don't know anything. That's the thing, you don't know what you're faced with until you get there.
If I go first, you want to pass me the stuff?
It's very much a mental swim. So if your head switches off very early on, it's very difficult to turn that around.
After a 20-minute crossing, the crew approached the channel relay team's pilot boat.
I was definitely a little nervous when I was told that I was going across, but got excited as well.
As Carl and Adam board, there's no sign of anyone actually in the water.
Morning guys, you all right? Right, casualty.
Sometimes it's obvious who's the casualty, who's in trouble, but you always have to ask a question, so it might seem a dumb question, but you step across and then you ask who the casualty is.
I'm right side of her, she dropped, legs just went 2 seconds, she started hyperventilating.
Right, okay.
Everybody was really excited because they'd completed 1 hour swim already, so the cycle is 1 hour swim per swimmer. They'd all done 1 cycle, the sun was coming up and they were just looking at France. You could see France.
Fine.
So everything was going really well, and the swimmer had about 10-15 minutes before it was her turn for the second swim, for her second hour. The next minute I just heard this hyperventilation. She just started panting, and then the next minute she was slumped on the floor of the boat.
It's now just after 9:30 in the morning. This 6-person relay team set off from Dover at midnight, with each swimmer aiming to do an hour's leg in rotation until they reach France. The female casualty completed her first leg at 4 a.m. and has been sitting in the heat since the sun came up. She's now collapsed 3 times.
It's a lot harder once the sun's out because it's beating down on them. They're in a small boat, so they've got to try and find shade. They did have a big umbrella, luckily, so.
A heat wave has just hit the UK, with highs of 34 degrees recorded in parts of the channel.
Right, okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my hand on your chest, okay?
It would appear the casualty has heat stroke.
When you looked at her, she looked drunk. She was swaying around a lot. But you could, when you look through that, you could see that she was very, very exhausted and very tired. She was just struggling to sit upright. So we knew that she had been in a bit of trouble previously before that.
We're going to give you some oxygen.
As the casualty's been struggling to breathe, Carl and Adam decide to administer oxygen. But the only time they've done this before is on a training day.
Being the first one, I was nervous, and you wanted to do well because you don't want to mess up.
Right, where's the tube? We haven't got a free flow mask.
That's it, isn't it? No, that's the resource one.
We knew it was our first ever casualty care between me and Adam, but those people on that boat didn't know that. You know, we can't exactly turn around and say to them, "Oh, this is our first time," because, like I say, they need to trust us, and we need to remain professional.
Watch the glasses.
Just get them on board. Yeah, transfer.
Sort it all out.
When you see the RNLI lifeboat alongside, it's really reassuring that you've got a good team there. They know they're going to take over.
Oxygen on.
The lads came across really professional on the boat. Straight away, they explained who they were and what their role was. So yeah, it was very reassuring.
Okay.
Right.
After a basic medical checkup, the crew take the casualty onto the lifeboat in order to get her to an ambulance on shore as quickly as possible.
No worries.
Because of the heat, it's decided to sit the channel swimmer in the fresh air on deck.
We gave her oxygen, and it was making her very, very sick. But we could see it was making a difference. Although it was making her sick, she was becoming more alert.
As the lifeboat approaches Dover Harbour, the crew take the casualty off the oxygen.
I asked her the question, "There's always next time, are you going to do it again?" And she said, "No, this is it. This is the last time. I'm never doing it again."
And the race isn't just run for the casualty. Her withdrawal means the swim is over for her relay teammates too.
I can completely sympathise with it because I've been there myself as a swimmer where something is just telling you that you can't get back in the water. The mood on the boat was just sad, very, very sad, very quiet. They'd spent 18 months training, not just the physical commitment, the financial commitment, and in one fell swoop it was over.
The emotion was starting to kick in. She was really upset. You feel for them, because 10 months of training. If someone's trained that long to do something, they'll put their heart and soul into it. So yeah, you almost feel gutted for them.
And here comes your ambulance. Well, guys.
The English Channel is quite a hostile place sometimes. It's underestimated. It's a very dangerous piece of water. Yeah, it's just not a friendly place.
At 29,000 square miles of sea, the Channel makes up a significant part of the RNLI's patch. 400 miles away, lifeboat volunteers are also on call around the Republic of Ireland. When the RNLI was formed in 1824, Ireland was still part of the United Kingdom. Nearly a century later, when the Irish Free State was established, crews around the nation agreed to continue their life-saving service. These days, 59 lifeboats operate across the Emerald Isle. The small fishing town of Scaries lies 20 miles northeast of Dublin on the Irish Sea. Its name derives from the Norse and Gaelic words for the rocks. And just offshore, a series of small craggy islands create fast-moving tides and dangerous currents and rips.
There's a very strong tide that runs up and down the coast. It can get very rough with swells coming in on the rocks. You do have to watch out what you're doing.
People get cut off by tides because of lack of knowledge of the sea and the surrounding areas.
Even when people look up the tide times, they often get it wrong or get the heights wrong, whether it's spring tides or neap tides. It can be faster or slower running water. There's lots of places where people decide to go walking and end up getting cut off.
There's been a lifeboat in operation here since 1854, and a new station was built over 35 years ago. The Scaries crew is a tight-knit unit who have all grown up together in the town.
Good day. Busy week, good week. Yeah.
I do have intentions of going out for just a quiet point, but such a good crew and a good morale amongst them, you could be out for a while. A good while. You'd be home early the next morning.
From pub landlord to mechanic to taxi driver, all these off-duty crew are volunteers.
I joined the RNLI because my best friend drowned in 2011, and I wasn't actually aware that the RNLI was all voluntary. I thought it was a job. I know I'd have the ability to do what they did, so yeah, I said I'd give back where I can.
And on the Scaries patch, the opportunity for the crew to give something back is never far away. On a chilly April evening, the lifeboat station receives a call from the Coast Guard. A man and a woman have gone for a walk with their 2 dogs on a notoriously dangerous local headland and have been caught out by the incoming tide. They're now trapped on the rocks with night fast approaching.
There was a sense of urgency, being 2 people stranded. We didn't know if they were wet, if they were cold, where they were.
Camera up! We knew the tide was coming in, so depending on whereabouts the people were caught, whether they were out of the water or in the water, the risk was that they could be hypothermic.
The average temperature, I think, of the water in the UK and Ireland is about 12 degrees all year round. So hypothermia, even during the summer, is always a factor, always a risk.
If you're cut off for an hour and a half, the tide has risen nearly a metre high around you. If they can't swim, the inevitable is going to happen and they're going to drown.
With the light fading fast, the crew power the lifeboat out to sea and around to the headland.
There is no natural light there, so it was going to be torches to find them.
The longer it took to get there and the longer it took to find them, obviously the more tide would have come in and the darker it would be, the harder it would be to find them.
Both tide and time are now working against them all. But then, from the almost pitch-black shore, there's a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Scaries Coast Guard Unit, Scaries Coast Guard Unit, Scaries Lifeboat, Channel 16, over.
The 2 dogs as well.
Okay.
Luckily for us and the casualties, they had their mobile phones. We could hear them both screaming and shouting, and they had the screens of their phones up in the air, waving them around so we could see the light which directed us straight in. Initially, when we got in close, at first there was a man standing on the rocks up to maybe his ankles in water on top of the rock, and a lady higher rock with 2 dogs.
You stand on a rock there, right?
Male casualty is cold and wet. He tried to wade around the headland to get help, but soon found himself waist deep in water.
The 2 of them were frightened. They didn't know. It was a strange place for them. They didn't know the area.
You're all right.
The danger of the man's position at the time was that he was in the water. So as the tide rises, he's going to get colder and colder.
Eventually the tide would have come up and covered the 2 of them.
Oh, that's bad. Oh, yes. You go down there and take a seat, right?
Down there. Now, so I want you to just go down there to the left, sit in the seat, okay?
Hello, little man. Hello, doggy. Hello, doggy. Hello, good boy.
There's one dog there coming towards you, you can call him.
It's okay, little fella.
Jesus.
The first part of the rescue was relatively smooth, but now the crew face a bigger problem.
The lady, she was up on the ledge. So the plan was for the lady just to sort of slide down to me, and I would try to keep her out of the water as much as I could.
Just go down your bum like a slide. You're just going to have to. No, it's not that deep, but you're just going to have to slide down to us.
Take your jacket off as well there and give me your jacket and you can put it back on you.
She was quite scared of the water. She couldn't swim. We took her bag and her jacket down, and we kind of had to do a little bit of convincing for her to slide down the rocks on her bum and onto the boat.
We'll give you a hand.
Just pretend you're getting into the bath. You're grand. No, there's a big rock there, so we can.
Rock here, look.
As a non-swimmer, the female casualty is too scared to even step in the water. But at this depth, the helm is unable to use the engines to manoeuvre closer. The only way to get her on board is to get in the sea and pull the bow of the boat to her.
Yeah, I'm here. I'll go back to there.
Take my hand, 2 hands.
Now, can you grab a seat there?
Yeah. That seat there for me.
Harbour. Can I just ask condition of casualties?
Yeah, casualty seem fine, just a little bit cold. They have their car here and actually their car park.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
I can't thank you so much.
When I got on the boat, I felt more at ease that I was going to live. I was thinking about my kids, and I did get a little emotional, and because I was worried that I'd actually thought we were going to die.
And this is our first time on the beach.
Yeah.
And the tide just came in, and we got a bit of a fright.
There's no problem.
I thought we'd only have about 2 minutes left, but the way the water was coming in, it was really terrifying.
Once they were safely in the boat, they were absolutely thrilled. They couldn't stop thanking us.
There's your 2 phones, look. They're in your pocket now, before you get off. That's no problem at all. We're all safe here now, anyway.
They were just so relieved that we came and rescued them, and they were so apologetic and so sorry, but all they wanted to do was just get in the car and go home.
Yeah, just show your...
I couldn't wait to get home. I just couldn't wait to get off onto the land because I just wanted to kiss the land.
No, thank you, folks.
God bless you. Okay, take care.
Cheers.
If the RNLI weren't there that night, them 2 people would have died that night. They would have drowned. The tide would have come in and they would have drowned. A very simple thing could have turned into a tragedy for their family.
We had no idea what conditions, whether he was conscious, was he breathing.
Holy cow.
He could have easily died from that height.
Christ, he's in the middle of a rough patch.
If a vessel hits the shingle bank, they could be sunk in a matter of minutes.
It was like being in a washing machine. I turned around and just saw this 10-foot wave coming towards me.